Does managing your money feel a bit chaotic? Maybe you're finding it hard to make ends meet. Hi, I'm Emily Stewart and I'm going to show you 3 ways to do a budget, which will hopefully help you get back in control. Now, a budget is actually most important if you're on a lower income because every dollar needs to count. If you're on a higher income, you can often get away with a few more spending mistakes because you've got a buffer there. Just remember, everyone's got different habits and time to do this and preferences with technology. Budgeting only works if you actually do it, so you've got to choose the method that works best for you. But before you get started, it can be really useful to spend a couple of weeks doing a spending diary, and that basically just means making a list of everything you spend. Make sure you list all the big expenses like your rent or your mortgage repayments, but also all the little things like coffee. Now, this can give you a really good overview of where your money's going and maybe some areas where you can cut back on expenses. Now, our first method of budgeting is the cash envelope system. This system's perfect if you're prone to overspending, and people have been using it since the 19th century. These days, it's best used for our daily expenses because things like housing and bills tend to be paid electronically. So you start by dividing your expenses up into as many categories as you'd like. I've chosen 5. Let's just say groceries, fuel, eating out, maybe even going to the hairdresser or kids' sport. Every payday, you take out your wages in cash from the ATM and you divide it up between the envelopes. Say you get the average Australian weekly wage, which after tax is about $960. After your big electronic expenses, you might put away $160 for groceries, $50 for fuel, $100 for eating out, $20 for the hairdresser, and $30 for kids' sport. So when you go to the supermarket, you're going to take the envelope marked groceries, but you can only spend what's inside this envelope. Once the cash is gone, it's gone. You can't buy anything else. The upsides to this method is that it's pretty simple and it'll physically stop you in your tracks when temptation strikes. The downsides are cash isn't traceable, so if it gets lost or stolen, you can't get it back. And you're not earning any interest on your money, so maybe it's not working as hard for you as it could be. The second budgeting method is the balanced money formula. This one was popularised by Elizabeth Warren. She's a US politician, but before that she was a leading academic in consumer law. The idea is to take your income and spend 50% on needs, 20% on savings, and 30% on wants. So what does that mean? Well, needs are things that you can't live without, so your housing or your healthcare. Savings could be super or debt repayments. And wants are the fun things, so things that you could survive without if you had to, so maybe holidays and entertainment. In Australia, you might have heard of a similar method created by the barefoot investor, Scott Pape. He recommends a different breakdown that includes an emergency savings fund, and his followers swear by it. To make it even easier to stick to, some people go ahead and automate it. That just means creating 3 or 4 bank accounts and automatically transferring your money into each. If you do this, try and choose low or no fee accounts. The upside to this method is that it's a big picture budget and you've only got 3 or 4 things to think about. The downsides though are that you can still overspend. You might borrow from your needs to satisfy your wants, and having multiple accounts means you might not be offsetting your debt. The last method is the traditional budget. I use ASIC's Moneysmart budget. It lists all the necessary categories for you and you don't have to worry about annualising expenses. Choose a time period that suits you. It might be fortnightly if you get paid that way. So gather up all your paperwork, your credit card bills, your receipts, and start by typing in your take-home income from work and any other income from child support or social benefits. Then start listing all your expenses, your car insurance, the cost of school books, your clothing. And finally, the budget will tell you if you spend more than you earn or if you have a bit left over. Now, don't make it so tight that you can't stick to it. It's got to be reasonable. The upsides to this method, it's detailed. You get a line-by-line picture of what your spending habits are. The downsides, it's a bit time-consuming to create it and to stick to it. Now, if you have found yourself in debt, you can get some free and independent advice from a financial counsellor. Just search Financial Counselling Australia. And just remember, this is general advice. If you need individual advice, please seek professional help. Good luck with your budgeting, and I'll see you next time.